Now, never, never, ever make these 10 mistakes when retiring to Las Vegas, or you could end up regretting it. Now, I'm going to show you exactly what to avoid, how to protect your retirement, and the costly mistakes that people make. Whether you're moving here for the first time or you're already familiar with Las Vegas, these tips will help you settle down without stress or financial burden. Now, my name's Micah Bleacher, and I've lived in Las Vegas for more than 22 years. And I help people avoid a living horror story when retiring here in Las Vegas. And I'm going to reveal everything I know from my experience in this video. So whatever you do, do not move into an age-restricted community or any HOA for that matter without fully knowing all of the rules and restrictions that go along with being in that community. It is very important. Many over 55 communities have very strict rules, whether it's about visitors or pets or even how you can decorate your yard. Some retirees get caught off guard. Don't let this happen to you. Now, these rules can be onerous sometimes, although most community associations are fairly reasonable. You have to check them out because everyone is different and everyone has different needs. We're standing here at Sun City Summerlin Community Center. There are multiple community centers and there are more than 20 different villages here in Summerlin, and each of them have different rules. Now, I had a client that had 4 dogs. She went into another over 55 community here in town. The rule was 2 dogs. Now, I called the HOA and asked them. They said there was no penalty for having 4 dogs. The rule was just 2. So she decided to go ahead and take the chance. She moved into that neighborhood and has not had a problem. On the other hand, some communities might have a $100 a month fine for something like that. And as long as that's all it is, then, I would consider it the fee for having too many dogs if they never went, beyond that. Now, I had another potential client. Now, he had 6 dogs and he wanted to go into an over 55 community. And the rule was 2. Now, I said, are they small dogs? Are you going to be able to hide them? He goes, no, they're German Shepherds. And I love German Shepherds. They're great. I love them. HOAs love dogs, but they only love 2 of them. No way is he going to be able to hide 4 of those 6 German Shepherds and be able to stay within the rules. That's just not going to be possible. Look, there are other rules about the age of visitors or how old your spouse can be if you're 55 and your spouse is younger. There's rules about how long people under 18 can visit you for a year. So these are things that we have to know about before we buy the house. Now, the actionable tip here for this section is to always review the HOA and community guidelines before you buy. Actually, this process happens during escrow. Now, when we're in contract, we get a complete copy of all of the up-to-date rules, and not only the rules, we get a financial statement, and we get to look and see how well their reserves are funded. That's another very important piece. Now, the sellers, they have to pay for these reports, and we get to review them. We have 5 days to review the rules to make sure that we agree with them, and we have 5 days to review the financial statements to make sure that we're buying into a community that's properly funded. That's a very important aspect not to forget. Now, if we don't like one of the rules, if there's something that we don't agree with, or if we feel like their reserve funding is not where it needs to be for us to feel comfortable and sleep at night, we can cancel the escrow and get our earnest money deposit back if we do it correctly. Now, why does this matter? Well, the last thing you want to do is move into a new neighborhood and feel like you're restricted by rules you didn't know about. Some neighborhoods, they don't even let you park on the street at night. Now, it's not a big deal if you know about it and you're okay with it, but if it's something that is a problem for you, if you have a big family or a lot of friends that come over all the time and you run out of parking places, that may not be the neighborhood for you. So anyway, we just have to check these rules and financial statements out from the homeowners associations before we move in. Now, we're over here at Sun City Summerlin. There's over 20 different neighborhoods in here, and each of them have rules that are a little bit different. And so when we're in escrow, when we're in contract, that's the time we get to check them out. We get to decide if that community is going to work out for us or not. But the rules aren't everything to watch out for. Some retirees new to the desert might ignore the extreme weather effect we have here, and that is something that is real. It can get pretty nasty. Number 2, ignoring the extreme weather effects. Now, the Las Vegas heat in the summertime here can be brutal. The high temperatures, the lack of humidity, and it can really take its toll on your home's maintenance and impact your daily life. Now, the actionable tip in this section is to try to look for homes with proper insulation and proper heating and cooling systems. And if you're going into an old home, make sure they've been updated or the price reflects the need for changing out the air conditioning systems. Now, if we're looking at an older home, one of the first things I do is go over on the side of the house and check out the AC systems. Now, they've either been replaced on an older home or they need to be replaced. And you can look over my shoulder. These guys over my shoulder, they are probably the original units on this home. They are well over 20 years old. And I can tell you right now, they may be working, but they're going to need to be replaced very soon. Now, not all ACs need to be replaced. Some already have been replaced, and it's just something that we have to check out. Now, I'm not an AC technician. I'm not an expert. I just can tell you that this one is very old and probably needs replacing. If there's a question, we always bring in an HVAC technician to make sure. These guys are not cheap. They can run 15, 20,000 or more. And so, if they need to be replaced, we need to make sure the price of the house reflects that. We have to run the numbers. It's the only thing we can do. Check it out. Now, we can always have some insulation blown into the attic. That's not a big deal. But we want to make sure that the home is energy efficient. Next thing you want to look at is the doors and windows. Are they sealing properly? Is the weather seal still there properly? Have the windows been replaced? Or are they still the old contractor grade windows that were on the house when it was built? That can make a difference. Vinyl windows with e-glass can significantly reduce your heating and cooling bills. It's something to think about. Now, I have some clients that say, I don't mind remodeling. We expect to find an older home in a location that we like, and we don't mind remodeling a little bit. Well, I have plenty of contractors that are available that can help you do that. I will give you multiple options, and finding somebody that can help you is not going to be a problem. I've been in this town 22 years and have a lot of connections. Now, why it matters? Heat waves can dramatically increase your home's heating and cooling bills, and they may require costly updates to fix. It's something we have to check out. Now, a pro tip for us locals here in the desert, we do our outdoor activities in the dead of summer in the morning hours when it's cooler. If we want to walk, if we want to go play golf, or we have chores, we like getting those things done early in the morning when it's cooler. Now, dealing with the heat is one thing, but another thing that retirees oftentimes overlook is the access to quality health care as they age. Now, it's no secret that Las Vegas has had explosive growth over the years. We're a relatively new city, and we've just grown by leaps and bounds over the years. In fact, we've kind of outkicked our pump coverage when it comes to doctors. We have a shortage of certain specialties here in Las Vegas. Now, according to local reports, the reason for that is that there's a lack of residency spots in the academic health systems across the states. Now, of course, this is improving all the time, and even though there's medical centers and hospitals in all corners of the valley, and we're standing right in the central part of the valley right now. In fact, you can see Kirk School of Medicine behind me. Over my shoulder right over here is the Valley Hospital, and we're in the entire UMC Medical Center. There's a dental school right over here, so there are medical schools around, but the lack of residency spots means that there's going to be a lack of doctors, because what happens is that doctors end up setting up practices where they have their residency because they have all their connections and so forth and referrals and that kind of thing. So as we improve that over the years, that's going to improve our shortage of physicians here in Las Vegas. Now, according to a St. George University study, they asked the very same question: why is there a physician shortage everywhere? Because apparently, we think it's just here in Las Vegas. Apparently, it's everywhere. And the driving force of that can't be tied to one specific cause, but what they say in that article, that there's a number of contributing factors. Primarily, is the fact that human life expectancy has increased so much over the years that as our population ages, our healthcare needs increase, and we just have not kept up with the demand. So what does a doctor shortage look like here in Las Vegas? Well, I am not a doctor shortage expert, but I'm 65, my wife's 68, and we utilize medical services a lot here in Las Vegas, and I can tell you what it looks like to us. Now, clearly, as we age, as I mentioned, we need access to hospitals, medical care, and it becomes more and more important the older we get. Now, we have always found the shortages of doctors here to be workable, at least. We find a way to work with things. Sometimes it does take 6 months to see a specialist. Of course, family members in other states seem to be complaining about the same things, but we definitely have that issues here. Sometimes we have to see the physician's assistant. Sometimes we do a telemedicine appointment. Now, I personally like the telemedicines. I don't like having to get out of my car. I don't necessarily have to go see the doctor in person. I like those telemedicine appointments when we can get them. Now, if you do go to the hospital, and I think this is true no matter where you go, you always need an advocate to be with you to make sure that they're looking out for you properly. Sometimes the systems just get out of control, and you always need an advocate if you're going in for surgery at a hospital somewhere. Now, my wife and I, we've had major medical problems and issues over the last 22 years. And as you can imagine, for the most part, we have been well cared for. Now, over the years, I have had a few clients that have had terrible, terrible medical problems, and they've had to move out of Las Vegas so they could be close to their highly specialized medical teams. I've had a client that moved all the way to Houston to be close to MD Anderson. I've had a client move to Phoenix to be close to the Mayo Clinic, and I had a client move back to LA. They had moved here from LA. They moved back because they had such serious medical problems they needed to be close to Cedars-Sinai. I even have friends that make annual trips to LA or Phoenix. I've got two guys I'm thinking of, and they make an annual trip for their medical checkup every year. They call it their medical trip. And so that's how those guys handle it. Now, if you've been watching my videos, you probably know that it's relatively easy to get anywhere in town here in Las Vegas. So wherever your doctors are, it's probably pretty easy to get to them, unless you live maybe in the corner of the alley and your doctor's on the opposite corner. That may take a little bit. But I have to go to doctors in Henderson. I live on the opposite side of town, and it's just really not that bad. Now, the actionable tip for this section is adjust your expectations regarding specialists. Be willing to see the doctor's physician's assistant. They're very good and can get you taken care of in most cases. Be open to telemedicine, where you can just pop on your iPad or computer and talk to the doctor. That is very convenient and very efficient. I think it's better than sitting around the waiting room with a bunch of sick people. Be proactive. Get referrals for good doctors. Get set up with your specialist before you need them, before you have a medical problem. Get set up ahead of time. Ask for cancellation appointments. We've had 6 months appointments out, asked for a cancellation appointment, and got in next week. Be sure to do that. I always say that the best medical care you'll ever get is how well you treat yourself between your doctor appointments. Now, here in Las Vegas, we have easy access to all of the healthy food stores, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, Sprouts, and more. And there's, organic sections in all the supermarkets. There is easy access to healthy food. There are gyms all over the place. In these 55 and older communities, they have state-of-the-art fitness rooms. Now, we mostly cook at home, but once in a while, we do go out to dinner and live large. But really, if you want to stay healthy, you've got to eat healthy. Now, we take Pilates and we walk. We very much use the 1,000 miles of trails, probably not all of them, all 1,000, but we definitely get out and do our walks every day. Now, there's 1,000 miles of hiking and biking trails here, so wherever you decide to live, there's going to be trails for you nearby your house where you can walk on. Now, why it matters? It's crucial to care for ourselves as we age. Now, I know my wheels are falling off no matter what I do, but I just want to keep them on a little bit longer. I want to keep this old car on the road a little bit longer. Now, if you want to stay fit, Las Vegas makes it easy. As easy as a walk in a park, and there are hundreds of parks to take a walk in. Now, when people first move to Las Vegas, they spend a lot of time down here on the Strip. They check out all the casinos, come down to the restaurants, they check out some circus shows or, whatever it is they like. They spend a lot of time down here, but after a while, people just don't come down as often. Once you become a local, we spend less time out on the strip and we leave that to the tourists. In fact, we spend most of our time in the fabulous Las Vegas suburbs. Now, it's a lot more important to decide where you're going to live based on your day-to-day life and not how often you think you're going to be hanging out here on the strip, because it's probably going to be a lot less often than you think. Just remember, the strip is always an easy Uber ride from just about anywhere here in town, and you would be amazed at the interesting things to do that are off the strip. There's all kinds of things to do all around town that have nothing to do with all of the amazing things you heard about here on the Las Vegas Strip. Now, the actionable tip for this section is to focus your house hunting efforts on the quality of your day-to-day life and not your estimated nightlife. Balance entertainment access with a lifestyle that supports relaxation and community involvement. Find a side of town that you have connections to or simply feel good about when you're there. I call it vibing. Now, when you're looking at houses, I'm looking at your eyes for the look of love. I want to see that you're falling in love with the place that you're buying. In the future, when I call you, I want you to be happy with your purchase. I want you to be grateful that you met me. I want you to be happy with your choice. Why it matters? Well, living near casinos may seem like fun, but they're really not going to provide you with the fulfilling, restful retirement that you're looking for in most cases. Now, people that have grown up here in Las Vegas generally prefer a mountain view over a strip view. Now, I kind of like both myself, mountain and a strip view. In fact, if you have a strip view, it's pretty hard to not also have a mountain view here in Las Vegas. Now, my favorite thing about the Las Vegas Strip is that it attracts friends and family members from all over the place. They come here for conferences. They come here to let their hair down. They come here to get married or to be with someone else who's getting married. And I love getting that phone call. Hey, Micah, I am here in town, or I'm going to be in town for a conference. How about we get together on the strip? I love that. In fact, couple of months ago, a friend of mine, Bob from Houston, was here for a conference, and in fact, we ran right here at Maggiano's. It's one of my favorite little places because I park at the Fashion Show Mall and walk in, and so it's easy to meet people, and we met and had a great time. A few weeks after that, a friend of mine, Debbie, came from Denver, and she brought her whole family. Well, those kinds of things happen a lot. Friends blow through Las Vegas a lot, and I get to see a lot of people very frequently, and I think you're going to love that about living here in Las Vegas. Now, enjoying your retirement doesn't mean you can ignore the practical side of things. Now, Las Vegas has seen a rising cost of living that could affect your budgets in ways that you may not expect. Now, many people come to Las Vegas, many retirees come to Las Vegas expecting a low cost of living, but honestly, over the years, things have changed. Now, we used to have a freebie economy here in Las Vegas. You could go anywhere, any one of these casinos, you could go in, you could put a $20 in the poker machine, and you could drink free all night. You could always go out and find a cheap prime rib somewhere, or some super cheap shrimp cocktail, but that just doesn't exist anymore. You used to be able to gamble a little bit and get comped all day long, and those days are largely over. There might be a few outlying places where you can drink for free if you have a 20 in the machine, but those places are far and few between. Now, over the years, the cost of housing, healthcare, and general expenses have steadily risen. Add inflation to that, and it's catching a lot of retirees by surprise. Now, since COVID, we've diversified business and people working at home and pro sports teams, and doubled down on entertainment, and the demand for the homes in Las Vegas has only intensified. Builders are constricted by the geography of the Las Vegas Valley, and the government owns most of the land in Nevada, which helps create a shortage of buildable land. That just makes the demand even stronger. Now, the actionable tip for this section is to research up-to-date cost of living data. Things have changed. Factor in increases in housing prices, utilities, groceries, and medical care when planning your retirement budget. Why it matters? You want to make sure that your retirement savings can comfortably cover all your living expenses, not only now, but in the future, without cutting into your lifestyle or leaving you financially stranded. That's very important. Now, if you're retiring and you move to Las Vegas and you have a gambling problem, I've actually heard stories where people have come here, retired from their jobs, and lost their entire nest egg within a short time of coming here. Now, it's important that you know what your weaknesses are before you come here. It's very important. Now, when it comes to gambling, there's gambling all over the country now. You have sports books, you have casinos everywhere, you have online gambling. You can pick up your phone and place a bet almost anywhere. So if you have a gambling problem, chances are you probably already know it. And that's important because here in Las Vegas, there is literally gambling everywhere. At the grocery stores, at the 7-Elevens. There's a gambling pub on every street corner. There's gambling almost everywhere you look. So if you have a problem with gaming, it's gonna come out and cause problems. So to thine own self be true. You got to know yourself in this town. Now, for me, it wasn't gambling. It was all the 5-star restaurants. There's one on almost every street corner. So I had a little bourgeois living and sampling restaurants and wine tasting and wine clubs and country club living. Before you know it, I had gotten up to 220 pounds. So that can be a problem too. That was my vice. And about 10 years ago, I did a complete lifestyle change. I work out every day. I meditate, lost all of my weight, and I still enjoy those 5-star restaurants, just not all the time. We save up, we eat at home most of the time, we stay healthy, and then we go out to our favorite restaurant and really go big when we go. Now, the actionable tip on this section, like Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. You gotta know yourself. Know if you have those weaknesses before you use your entire retirement nest egg. That's very important. Why it matters, we want to enjoy this great life for as long as we can. Those over 55 neighborhoods have state-of-the-art fitness rooms for a reason. People use them. Gotta know where the nearest gyms are. Get an All Trails in. Or the Clark County Knee Onto Nature app. One of the best exercises you can do is simply get out and take a walk. And you know how easy that is? It's as simple as a walk in the park. And we have hundreds of them here in Las Vegas. Now, all these are important topics to consider, but so is the type of home you choose. Now, a 2-story home may seem nice now, but it may not be the best option as you get older. Number 8, choosing a 2-story home. Now, many retirees don't take into consideration their future mobility needs when they're doing home shopping, and they choose a 2-story home, which later on they regret. Now, there's nothing worse than buying a 2-story home and then finding out afterwards that you have 1-story needs. Now, I have seen that happen. I've seen older couples buy a 2-story house, and sure enough, not long afterwards, they had to turn around and sell that house because it just was not working out for it. They didn't plan for it well enough, and they couldn't make it up those stairs every single day. It's easy when you're looking at houses, but every single day with laundry and carrying things, it's not so easy. Now, it's really easy to make this mistake because when you're looking at homes, and if you're only looking at 1-story homes, it takes away about half of the inventory. Now, that can be very frustrating when you're searching because it seems like there's nothing available. So if you're looking for a 1-story home, you have to be patient. We have to work together. You never want to let a realtor talk you into a 2-story house because it's taking too long to find a 1. Now, one solution might be finding a house that has a primary bedroom on the first floor. That definitely works for some people, and you have guest rooms or a gym room or an office upstairs, so you don't have to go up the stairs very often. That can work for some people. I've worked with high net worth clients, and they buy 2-story homes with elevators. Now, you can even put an elevator into most 2-story homes, and I've seen it done, and the price runs approximately $30,000 to $50,000 depending on the elevator and how the home is configured. Now, the actionable tip here is set your sights on a 1-story home or a home with a primary bedroom on the first floor or a home with an elevator. Be patient, take your time, find the correct home that's going to work for you now and in the future when your knees give out a little bit more. Now, why it matters? Ensuring that you have a home with the proper accessibility is going to make a lot of difference in the future. Now, if you have to turn around and sell that home, it's going to cost you a lot of money. You don't want that to happen. Get the correct home the first time through. Now, speaking of homes, many people new to the desert don't really realize how the sun beating down and this weather that we have here can take its toll on your home's exterior and increase maintenance costs. Number 9, neglecting the cost of home maintenance. Now, some retirees are very surprised by the maintenance costs here in Las Vegas, especially the fact that the desert heat and the intense sun, how it takes a toll on your house. Now, I used to live in Pacifica, just south of San Francisco, right on the coast, right on the water. And the salt air there used to just tear up your house. It would rust out your cars, and it was pretty rough. And I'm happy to say that the environment is nowhere as difficult as that when it comes to home maintenance. But that said, the intense sun in the summer can really take its toll. And in fact, behind me, as you can see, I'm having to redo my sprinkler system. It's a 30-year-old house and got a big yard, a big garden. The sprinkler system has to be redone. Now, it's not near as big a problem if you have a small footprint home, but if you have a house like mine that's half an acre, you just have to multiply it out by the number of linear feet you need, and it ends up being quite a bit more. Anyway, you can't ignore home maintenance, and here in the desert, it's a bit more than you think. Now, as I mentioned earlier, air conditioners are not optional, and they need to be working optimally. I get mine checked out every year. Now, the actionable tip for this section is that you really want to factor in maintenance costs when it comes to figuring out your retirement budget once you get here. You may want to consider an HOA that takes care of a lot of the outside for you, depending on if you're a do-it-yourselfer or not. Keep in mind that a large property is going to cost a lot more than a property with a very small footprint, and most of the over 55 homes here in Las Vegas have very small footprints, so that really helps keep the maintenance costs down. Now, why it matters is avoiding unexpected expenses is going to ensure that your retirement budget is not going to be strained. So it's important to think about these things. Now, lastly, one of the biggest expenses, and a lot of people really don't factor them in when they're house hunting, is the HOA fees. Once we get looking, you'll notice that there's a very big difference between the neighborhoods with regards to how much of the HOA fees that they charge. And it's really important to check that out because they can really sneak up on you if you're not careful. Number 10, overlooking the HOA fees and the hidden costs in retirement communities. Now, many retirees fall in love with a retirement community before they know the full cost of all the HOA fees and perhaps some other hidden costs that can go along with some of these communities. Now, these costs can add significantly to your monthly expenses if you're not aware of them. Now, these fees often cover the cost of the extensive facilities, the fitness centers, the clubhouses, the social directors. Sometimes they pay for the guard gates and the employees that work there. Sometimes they pay for the security that drives around the neighborhood. It can also pay for all the landscaping and the common areas and all of that kind of maintenance. So these fees really can add up to quite a bit over time, and it's important to check them out. Now, the thing is, these fees vary widely between communities. So I've seen them very low, under $100, and I've seen them much higher than that, over $500, $600 in some cases. Now, sometimes there are multiple HOAs. Sometimes you have like a master plan fee with a master plan community, and then you might have an HOA fee for the community that you're in, and you might be living in a little sub-village which actually has its own HOA fee, and all of those can add up. Now, here's another fact. These HOA fees are not always entered into the MLS correctly by the agents. Not all agents are thorough. So you have to check them out. Give me a call. Sometimes I have to actually call the homeowners association personally and ask them what their current fees are. Sometimes that's the only way to know, is to call and ask. Now, the actionable tip here is to always check the amount of the HOA fees before making a commitment to the property. Of course, we find that out for certain once we're in escrow and we have a copy of all of the HOA rules and the demand statement, the financial statement for that community. So we'll have all of that if we go into contract, but even before then, we should find out what those fees are and exactly what they cover before we get into contract. Now, I know this is a lot to think about, but I've been through it all.
and I can help you avoid these painful mistakes. With years of experience in the Las Vegas market, my goal is to help you retire without worry. So if you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas, my number's on the screen. Give me a call, and I will make sure that you don't make any of these costly mistakes. My name's Micah Bleacher, and I'm always here to help you find the perfect place to call home.